Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to tell you why I usually turn to ancient remedies and not hospitals when things happen to my body. I want to start off by saying that breath and breathing are so amazing, and since our bodies automatically do that for us, we tend to forget that. Our bodies are so amazing that they breathe for us until we die, and I truly understood what a blessing that is on October 31st of this year. That was the day that I could not breathe and I ended up going to the hospital. So, I guess I'll start off by saying I never really knew how horrible the medical system was. I had started reading articles about 2 weeks before I went in. One was about a Facebook post by a man who was having some kind of ailment. He went to the ER and he was asking for help. They didn't come to his aid, and he made his final post on Facebook and died. Another one was about a model who went in for stomach cramps and they misdiagnosed her and she ended up with 2 holes in her stomach. And so that made me very skeptical. Well, it didn't make me skeptical. I was already skeptical, but it made me even more skeptical about, I call them institutions of care. So a few days before that actually happened, my diaphragm felt like it was closing up and I was struggling to breathe. I felt fluid in my lungs and my ear cavity, and it was inhibiting my breathing. It was also extremely painful. Like, I would be sitting down sometimes and it would feel like water was just here and it would stay there and then it would move down here, and so I couldn't breathe, and then it would move throughout the rest of my body. And I noticed that whenever my mom would like massage my back or my shoulders, it would move, it would alleviate some of the pain. We also had to do a series of colonics to get the waste out of my system. We were hoping that that would help the problem, because following the fluid that I felt in my lungs, I was getting a pain in my lower right side. And if you look at a chart of the human body, you would see that the appendix is located on the lower right side. It's known as the Legion of Worms. It had swelled up and, it had swelled up and it was really painful for me to move around, so I had stopped eating. With the swelling of my appendix, I also felt like a tingling burn down to like my mid-thigh on the right side of my body. So I had stopped eating, and the only thing that was sustaining me was ginger water and garlic broth with turmeric and more ginger. So back to the situation with my the fluid in my lungs. So the colonics kept me alive, and my mom also put me into a sauna in hopes that I would sweat some of the fluid out, and I really believe that that's the reason that I am alive right now, because if my mother had not done this, I don't even want to think about what would happen. On the day that I did go to the hospital, October 31st of this year, 2017, I had just taken a colonic. When I came back to the house, I drank some ozone water, and that was when my lungs filled up and I could not breathe. And so I told my mom, like, I cannot breathe. And so she started to panic. Um, I tried to let it pass like I usually would, and nothing happened. I still couldn't breathe. So we got into a cab and went to the hospital. When I was walking down the stairs of our house, I felt like water come out of the pores from under my armpit, and I had not been sweating. And gradually, when I did get to the hospital, it seemed like my breathing was easing up a bit, so I was able to breathe uh, a little. When we got to the emergency room, I remember a lot of people there, and we got there around 8:30 at night. There were a lot of people, and my mom's like, she can't breathe. I ended up waiting for about an hour before this nurse who was checking people's vitals before you get admitted saw me. And so when she tested me, she took my blood pressure. It was perfect. She took my temperature. It was either, I don't remember if it was perfect or like a notch lower. It was about 98.6. And she was asking me what the problem was, and I couldn't even talk since I was still trying to, breathe. So my mom's telling her the problems, and she's like, but her vitals are fine. Her vitals are fine. She's fine. And we were like, no, something is wrong. So she said, okay. I waited for about another 30 minutes before I was given a band. So I could be seen by a doctor. After that, I waited 30 more minutes, and I was wheeled out in a wheelchair to another section of the hospital to do some kind of scan on my chest. As I remember what it is, I'll put it in the video. What kind of scan it was in the video. I'm sorry, my mind is off right now. So they took a scan of my chest area, and then they wheeled me off to another part of the hospital and had me wait another hour before they gave me a saline drip, and started asking me what the problem is. It was so bad that the saline drip was cold, and they didn't tell us that it would be cold, and so they stuck a needle in my arm, and all of a sudden my hand started turning blue. And my mom's like, help her hand is turning blue. What is this? And she's like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. You get cold when this happens. So they ended up giving me 2 bags full of saline, giving me a chest x-ray. And I was told that there was no fluid present in my lungs. And I kept telling them that the fluid travels and I really cannot breathe. They're like, you're fine. When one doctor came in, she was asking me questions, and I told her that I hadn't eaten in a week. And she seemed to be fixated on that. She's like, no, a week? Oh my God, 8 days? And the nurses are like, you haven't eaten a week, 8 days? And so, I I think she was more horrified by the fact that she could see my ribs than the fact that I couldn't breathe. And so I kept telling my mom, Mom, I cannot breathe. And so the woman started talking to me like I was anorexic, saying, you have to eat, you have to eat. So without asking her permission, I was given Pepto-Bismol, a liquid version of it inside of this saline drip. And I remember looking at my mom and we were like, how is this going to help? This has nothing to do with fluid in my lungs. And they were telling me when you don't eat, gastric juices come up from your abdominal region and mess with everything. And I know for a fact that if I kept eating with the problem going on with my appendix, that would have killed me or made me really severely sick. And so I was not admitted to the hospital that night, but they gave me a prescription for Pepto-Bismol. I was told to pick it up at my nearest drugstore. The hospital doctor also told me to follow up with my normal doctor to make sure that nothing goes wrong. You know, but the Pepto-Bismol should be fine. You're all set. They still had no idea what was wrong with me. All they knew was that they could see my ribs. Anyway, a few days later, someone gave my dad a number to an acupuncturist, and we were told that she was really good. My parents decided that it would be best if we went to see her. When I did, a few days ago, she is one of the sweetest people. She knew what was wrong with me immediately. First of all, she believed what I was saying. She actually asked what I was feeling. She was able to diagnose me based on my birthday, so the month, day, and year. Since I was born in January, I'm born in a cold, in the cold season, and so inherently I am very cold. Every winter my hands and my feet tend to turn blue. When everyone else is warm, I'm usually freezing. And so when she started talking, she's like, this usually happens, right? And I'm like, yes, you're spot on. She was able to tell me why my heart was palpitating. And she said that we're definitely going to work on you not being able to breathe because that's very serious. I forgot to tell you guys that on November 1st, I was set to go to Europe with my brother. I told her all of this, and she told me that my fire was very low, meaning that I have little energy, my body is not heating correctly, etc., etc. I'll probably, I'll talk about it in another video, but if I had got on that plane, I most likely would have died. And that is very troubling to think. I knew that I was feeling off, but I did not realize I was that off. So the day I went to see her was the day we started the treatment. I just got back in from my second treatment today. She worked on opening my diaphragm more. So she put certain needles and certain meridians to open my lungs. She also, She also did cupping on my back. Right now, I'm trying to fight a cold that my body is trying to pick up, because it would hinder or will hinder progress. I have to see her for a minimum of 3 months, and this ordeal has been so tiring. It has been a lot to handle. My mom has been with me through everything for about 3 weeks now. She's got roughly, if I'm getting 2 hours, she's getting less than that because, oh my god, it's taken a toll on my family. My brother was scared to go on his trip because he didn't really know what was wrong. I haven't really explained anything to him because I want him to enjoy the trip. But my mom has been with me through everything. One more thing that she told me when we were trying to come up with the diet that I had to consume. Since my ki was so low, she said I need warming foods, and so I have to eat pumpkin and goji berries, more ginger and things to warm me. If I eat fruit at the time, that would cool my body down too much, and so I can't do that right now. So my mom has been making a soup that she gave us the recipe for. We also put dates in it. It's really, really, really tasty. I didn't think it would be. But yeah, I was also told not to eat greens at the moment. I definitely still want to continue with my plant-based diet once my ki is up. But at the moment, I'm in between a rock and a hard place. Last night was really, really difficult. I've actually been afraid to go to sleep, so I am exhausted. Every time I lay down, my breathing has been getting constricted, and it feels like something is blocking my windpipe. So I usually toss and turn and or sit up, and I really understand the saying health is wealth. I will make another video very soon.